Are you interested in knowing that despite being in Europe, why Albania is a Muslim majority country? Do you want to know that how the Albania became the world's first atheist country in 1967? How and when Islam spread in this part of the world? Then keep watching because that's what we are discussing in this video. So without any further delays, let's begin. Albanians are the biggest Muslim nations of Europe, located at the western part of the Balkans. They are believed to be the descendants of the ancient Illyrians, which inhabited Europe some 2500 years ago. While in the ancient times they were pagans, with the advent of Christianity, teachings of St. Paul among Romans, they converted in Christianity. Albania's total territory is 28,000 square kilometers. Its capital city is Tirana, founded in the 17th century by the Albanian Pasha, who, as the legend says, originally named it Tehran. Historically, the Albanians are the only Balkan people whose national consciousness has not been shaped or identified by the religious affiliation. Instead, Albanians have defined their national identity through language. Throughout their turbulent history, Albanians have shifted with relative ease from one religion to another, being Catholic, Orthodox, or Muslim, according to how this best served their interest at that time. In the late Middle Ages, their land became the battlefield between the Catholic West and the Orthodox East. Whenever the West was advancing, the Albanians' feudal lords adopted Catholicism. Whenever Byzantium was the victor and the West retreated, they embraced Orthodoxy. Albania is a self-proclaimed secular state that allows freedom of religion. There are three main religions: Islam, Orthodox, and Catholic Christianity. The percentage of Muslim remains in the majority at more than 65%, while more than 20% of the population are Orthodox and about 10% are Catholic. The Muslim population is further divided between the 85% who follow the Hanafi school of the Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat and the 15% who are affiliated with the highly syncretic Bakhtishi sect. The contacts of the Albanians with the Islamic world are relatively new compared to the other countries. Islam appeared for the first time in the old continent at the end of the first millennium, 9th or 10th century. Historically, inter-religious contacts between the Christian Albanians and the Islamic preachers belong to the 13th and 14th century. During the 15th and 16th century, a number of mosques, which are important Islamic culture centers, were established in the main cities of Albania. The Albanians embraced Islam nearly as a whole, which is remarkable when seen in the light of Albanian history. The rugged terrain of this region served as a natural barrier against outside invaders and greatly slowed the spread of the foreign ideas, such as Christianity and linguistic borrowing. Before the outlying of the religion in 1967, Albania's population was 75% Muslim, 15% Orthodox Christianity, and 10% Roman Catholic. Geographically, most Muslims are found in the center of the country, with a few in the north, and a part of south is Bakhtishi. The south and southeastern are mainly Orthodox, while a part of northwest and northeast are Catholic. There is also a Greek Orthodox minority in the south. The majority of the Albanian population in Kosovo and Albania is Muslim due to the Ottoman Empire conquest and rule for almost 5 centuries. Through time, Albanians have evolved to perceive Islam as part of their identity, especially in Kosovo, where people are more religious than in Albania. In Kosovo, Islamic influence is felt more, though the country is never known for political Islam. Albanians were the first nation who embraced Islam massively in southeastern Europe and cooperated with Turks who were building their Islamic empire in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Until 1913, the country was part of the Ottoman Empire, being more or less the last major Balkan territory to be held by the Turks. Many Albanians served the Ottoman Empire with distinction. It was part of the Ottoman tradition to recruit conquered peoples and co-opt their into government. Albanian constituted the bulk of the Osmani armies, and majority of the Janissary corps were named by them. People from the Shamshidin Semi who contributed to the modernization of the Ottoman state during the 19th century. Most of the bodyguards of Sultan Abdul Hamid II, as well as the Grand Viziers of Sultan Suleiman I, were Albanians. The lenient terms of capitulation required by Islamic law gave Albanians the right to retain their religious beliefs. It was not until the early 17th century that the Islam began to gain hold in Albania. This is proof in itself that the so-called theories that Islam was forced upon Albanians and other Balkan people hold no ground in historical fact. Islam gave them a way to God. Islam also gave Albanians a voice in the administration of not only their own lands but the whole Ottoman state. Prominent viziers and pashas hailed from Albania and were appointed to their posts long before the majority of the Albanians professed Islam. During the rules of sultans, the idea of being different prevailed in the Albanian religions. Hence, the political and cultural national movement during the end of the 19th and the beginning of 20th century, which resulted in a definite division from the Ottoman Empire with the proclamation of Albanians' independence. The motto of the liberation movement was Albanian religion is Albania, especially in Kosovo, which remained under the Serbian territory. During the communist regime, religion was forbidden. During this time, the regime tried to enforce an atheist secular state. Public religious instruction was made illegal. In 1967, government closed more than 2,100 mosques, churches and masjids, which are small mosques of Bektashi sect. Those that were allowed to remain open were turned into museums, gymnasiums and even artist studios. Pig farms sprang up throughout the country and all were encouraged to eat pork products. Many religious people were arrested or punished severely. The communist system gave Albanians the most brutal hit when it stopped people from worshipping God. In 1967, Albania was declared as the first atheist country in the world which made religion and its practice prohibited by law. With the advent of democracy in Eastern Europe after 1990, the religious freedom were constituted back even in Albania. Churches and mosques were allowed to reopen. There have been new religious centers built all over Albania, even in the most remote parts of the country. Albanians were allowed to re-practice their religion again. This made its Muslims feel that they could recover their lost identity. The new democratic regime, which was installed in Albania in 1991, made some room for the Muslims of Albania to start re-understanding their Islamic heritage. In this time, Albania became a member of the Organization of Islamic Conference. An Arab-Albanian Islamic Bank was established in Tirana, and around 20 Arab Islamic organizations opened their branches in the country. Along with them came even some Turkish, Iranian, British American and other Muslim NGOs. These shortly lived organizations were engaged from 1991 to 1996 in a process of Islamic education and mosque building. Apart from their shortcomings, they managed to print and distribute good volumes of Muslim literature in Albanian and built dozens of mosques in the country. However, the mosque building process did not manage to recover the country's thirst of rediscovering their prohibited religion. If until 1967 in Albania some 1,666 mosques existed, nowadays after the communism destruction, Albanians have managed to rebuild only around 500 mosques throughout the country. Even that, some Christian fundamentalist organizations in the United States claim that country has over 3,000 mosques. At present, the country has around 350 Imams and 500 mosques around the country, which means one Imam for 10,000 people and one mosque for 7,000 people. Turkey currently is building 18 large Islamic religious centers around the world. The projects include a mosque in Tirana, Albania, which will hold more than 4,000 worshippers. In the structure of the first government of the country, which was established in Vlora in 1912, there were different Imams playing important roles such as ministers of the country. We can also mention Haxi Wabi Debra, head of the first Muslim community of Albania, as an important figure in the independence of Albania. So we can conclude that the Albanian and Muslim identities are tightly connected. They have never hampered each other, and on the contrary, they have always been seen as one. Shakodra, one of the largest cities of the country, is a good example of the inter-religious tolerance. It was exactly in this city in which Islam was reborn after the dictatorial system. Over the years, it has shown a strong and well-formed Islamic identity. In conclusion, we can say that the Muslims of the Albanians constitute the majority of the population. They do not have any political party. TV channel, newspapers, schools, institutions, and foundations to represent them. The issue of education is probably the area of the most concern to the moderate Albanian Muslims, who are acutely aware of how local Islamic educational facilities are wholly inadequate and are concerned at the growing numbers of the young people who are forced to travel abroad to receive higher Islamic education. As yet, there has been no concise study of the precise number of the young Albanians who have been sent to study in different Islamic countries. There is a strong demand from within the Albanian Muslim community to have an Islamic university in Albania. This will enable young people to study Quranic theology in their homeland and not in the foreign institutions. Today, despite decades of secularism, Albania is considered as a predominantly Muslim country, although one cannot say with clarity that out of 3.4 million inhabitants, how many Albanians are actually Muslims.
يلومونني في اشتهاء الحياة وأني للذاتها أرتوي وأني بها مغرم